Welcome to Good Goodbyes, the funeral facts podcast. We are really glad you found us. In this podcast, me, Simon, a funeral director,
And me, Tina, I'm an independent celebrant.
we're going to discuss all things funeral in an informal space to demystify what happens when we say goodbye.
Based on your questions and queries, Si and myself are two industry professionals that are going to chat through the hows, whats and wherefores. We actively work in the funeral industry in Devon in the UK. So, we hope you enjoy the episode ahead. Welcome to Good Goodbyes. Hello, welcome to Good Goodbyes, and on this episode I am very delighted to have Si back with me after a short absence. Hello, Si.
Hi everybody. Hi Tina. It's been a few weeks. My apologies for that, but thank you to Tina for taking the helm, looking after things absolutely beautifully, and some wonderful guests that we've had as well. I am immensely grateful for them. Little explanation. Not going to labour on it too much. I've been a funeral director since 2011, so 14 years. And in December, I lost my mum, and that is the only personal loss I've suffered during that time, and it hit me. I'm not going to lie. I preach about good goodbyes and good grief and how to kind of support people through that, and I kind of have all the tools in place to make sure I'm signposting people the right way. But I struggled myself, so I took a little bit of time and got myself kind of reset. But I am now hopefully back and in a position that I can sit here and talk to you guys and go through some subjects that will help, and hopefully now with a better understanding of what it all actually means as well.
Because you were saying, Si, a moment ago before we started recording, that the donation, the charity that you donated to on behalf of your mum had got in touch and said, thanks for the donation, and that it was at that point you realised it had been a month.
Yeah, and it's these little moments that have kind of popped up that I just haven't processed things until they've been right in front of me. I was out at the crematorium, and the chap out there said to me, like, "There's no pressure from our end, but Mum's still here," and I'd forgotten.
Yeah,
completely forgotten, because I guess they hadn't been kind of saying to me or putting pressure on me to bring her ashes back. They hadn't mentioned it when I was collecting other ashes and things like that. So yeah, until that was said to me, I just completely swept it under the carpet and forgotten it. And that's for what I do all day, every day. The one that kind of was the closest to the bone is the one that I've tucked away as far as I can, I think. I will add, for our listeners out there, to give you a bit of an understanding of mine and Tina's relationship, although we're 28, 29 episodes in now. Tina actually conducted the service for my mum, and I'm going to take the time while we're on this chat to thank her. It was perfect. She came, listened to me and my dad and my sister, and really got a true understanding of what mum was about, and turned that around and fed it back to us and the rest of the people in the room and those on the webcast as well. And I will always be grateful for that service. And yeah, don't want to upset Tina or make it all emotional.
It's really touching for you to say that, Si, because it felt super special. It always is significantly a privilege, to be with any family at any time, and you would say the same. But when it's a colleague or somebody or a friend, then you just feel it more keenly that you really, really want it to be just what they would want. So that feels great. Thank you so much for saying that. And so one of the things I guess we're noticing is that time kind of just goes past so quickly, but you're getting through the days, aren't you? What's kind of helped you kind of with getting through the days?
I think for me, a big part of my grief and how I've been dealing with it is treating mum as mum always has. So little moments, like I walk past a cafe near my office and kind of smile to myself because Mum would have been sat there with a coffee before going off to volunteer, and I'll walk past the Devon Air Ambulance where she worked and just have a little smile to myself and grab little memories where I can, of positives, of real positives, because things like the ashes being at the crematorium, it's not a positive, but the little reminders I get, the little moments people write on her Facebook walls still. Someone saw a double rainbow in it. They commented, "Oh, Chris, it made me think of you looking down on me."
Aww.
And it's just seeing those little things and those little happy moments really are getting me through it. Because it's too easy to sit and mourn and reflect on the loss. But I'm determined not to do that. Mum didn't suffer at the end. It was very, very quick. And ultimately, as much as it will always be a shock and will always be too soon, I think everybody in the history of the world would say too soon. But there was no suffering. She died at peace. I was there with Dad. It's as good as it could get.
Yeah.
So let's focus on the positives and the happy bits.
I know. And it is such a balancing act, isn't it? Because I was saying to somebody the other day, I think when our guest Emma Gray was on, and Emma was talking about she lost her husband, became a widow quite young, and Emma was saying, like, you can feel all the feelings at the same time. And I think this is kind of as humans, we think we're always got to do either or. It's a bit like we've got to eat healthy all the time and never have treats. or we're saying to ourselves, oh, we're always eating rubbish. And it's somewhere in the middle, probably the truth of our lives. And I think it's the same with this kind of grief stuff you're talking about, Size. You do get this moments of joy and uplifted and thinking of great memories and fondness. And then the next minute you are feeling the loss of it. I mean, my mum died close to 6 years ago now. And occasionally, like when my daughter got into university, I wanted to pick up the phone and talk to my mum.
Yeah.
And of course, you have those moments, even down the line, when you think, oh, yeah, no, of course you're not there, are you? And you know that logically, of course. But other times when we get the Christmas decks out and her stuff is in the Christmas decks, and it makes me smile because she was crazily into Christmas.
Yeah, my oldest daughter had text Mum subsequently, like only a week or so ago, saying "miss you," and that got me right in the feels. But actually, trying to spin that on its head, trying to be positive with that, like it's a really great mentality for her to have.
Yeah,
that she can still reach out and still kind of use that platform to process her grief, and if that helps her by sending that text message, then great news. And actually, there's so many different things that you'd never think of that little moment, as much as it broke my heart for her, I spun it around and realized actually that's how she's going to grieve, and that's going to make it better for her. That's great. Do that.
Because I think at some point I'm going to try and get somebody on the show to talk about digital legacies, because so much goes on online, doesn't it? And somebody the other day was sharing, you get these memory posts come up on your Facebook if you use it at all. And you might have posted something like 6 years ago and it'll just come up like, oh, 6 years ago today you were doing this. And it's kind of like, I don't know. I mean, somebody had posted like, oh, 6 years ago with you, still missing you. And obviously that provoked a memory for that particular person. But yeah, digital legacy is a whole big area that I don't know a lot about. So it might be nice to have a guest on. And B, I think, the way that we communicate, a lot of it is in that way, isn't it? Perhaps a lot for the younger people.
Yeah. It's kind of it brought to mind the Facebook thing. Actually, do we close that account, or do we make it an in memoriam account? Mum's phone, like, do I get rid of that, or do we keep that, because there won't be anything worse than Poppy sending a text message in, I don't know, 6-8 months time, and it's been disconnected or something, and it rejects it. And digital legacy, absolutely, it's a minefield, isn't it? And it's amazing the things you have to think of. So that's a great shout for a guest, because I can tell you, I can talk you through how to make a Facebook account into a memorial account, but there's so much more to it. There's so much more thinking to go into it.
I'll go investigating, but listeners, if you know anybody, do ping me a message. Yeah, because the other thing is, of course, I cannot, Si, take my mum's telephone number off my phone.
No.
It's in my contacts, and I just can't do it. And the home number, so she had her own mobile, but the home number still comes up as mum and dad home. Yeah. Because I haven't changed that to just be my dad. And I know it's odd, the things we do that to comfort ourselves, don't we?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I lost a friend. One of the triggers of me coming into the funeral industry, I lost a friend back in 2010. And I'm still friends with him on Facebook. And I think you go through these Facebook culls and you kind of get rid of people that have popped up and you're not quite sure how you're friends with them. But I go and I scroll past his name and I think to myself, no, absolutely not. I'm never going to delete that.
I know, it's funny. It feels like a disrespect in some ways, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
And my daughter was,
yeah. Sorry, go on.
No, I was saying my daughter was tidying out a room post-Christmas and she's got lots of, my mum was always giving her ornaments, and I don't know if ornaments are really a young person's thing. So she was like, oh, Mum, I've got about 8 ornaments from Grandma. Do you think it'd be all right to put this one in the charity shop? And I said, it'd be fine, darling. You know, it's fine to cull Grandma's ornaments. But yeah, that feeling that we get is funny.
Yeah. Well, I think that kind of concludes, it explains my absence. It actually brings to the fore a little bit more conversation to have. And actually, those of you that listen to the podcast, if you've got any tips for me, anything that this has brought to mind and has made you think, actually, when I went through that, I was the same. And I kind of had those moments at the cafes or on Facebook or whatever it might be. Do drop us a message, because it's a lonely place. You feel like you're the only person in the world to have ever done it, even though I've done this for so long and know that I'm not. Thank you to all that have been around me to support me. Thank you to Tina for taking the helm and looking after this wonderful podcast and this community that we've built around it, because I know, and I see the stats and I see that there are people that listen in religiously week in, week out, and I'm immensely grateful for that. And I hope that we're doing something positive with what we're doing. And it's I've missed it and I can't wait to get back to it.
Perfect. Thank you, Si. And in the future, listeners, just for your knowledge, the format will be that sometimes Si and I will come and do one of our little chat episodes, and at other times we'll have guests. So we're always open to suggestions for guests that you might like to listen to, and Si and I will be popping along with new subjects along the way. But you've been listening to Tina and...
Sorry. you caught me on the back
Caught him
foot
on the
then.
hot then. Caught him on the hot.
I'm out of practice. Thanks for joining us on Good Goobyes, and we will hear from you very soon. Take care.
You.
You've been listening to Good Goobyes, the Funeral Facts podcast. Please do like, subscribe, comment and share. Drop any questions on our social media, on Instagram, or in the text option in the show notes.
Si and I are qualified professionals, but we always advise our clients to seek any additional support from medical practitioners if they need to. And we hope you enjoyed this episode. Stay well and be kind to one another.